I never thought that an 8-year marriage and a family of 2 children could collapse in an instant. When I found those loving messages on my wife's phone, my world was completely overturned. Her future plans with another man stabbed into my heart. I gave her the last chance, but her resistance to cutting off contact made me realize that this marriage might be irretrievable. Long story short, wife and I have been married 8 years together, 12 and have 2 small kids. This year has been tough, but we have had our arguments, but nothing that I would ever think would push my wife to cheat anyways. I noticed her lately being distended, being uncommunicative and dared to confront. One evening at that time she said that she was not happy and couldn't feel a spark anymore. At first, I freaked out on myself, thinking I was being an attentive husband, truthfully an issue. However, the next day I caught a very strange message on her phone. That was extremely lovey. Dove. I took a look and then found my wife was messaging a man for a long time with lots of I love you and plans for future together effing destroyed. Anyways, taking the advice of the many threads on here, I didn't confront initially. I actually read as much as I could. Contacted a couple lawyers for advice, one now on retainer, and got my head on straight and calm. I confronted my wife a couple days ago calmly and asked if she was having an affair, and after a couple minutes she admitted everything. Long story short, it's been going on for 6 months and she claims it's the deepest emotional connection ever. Complete BS. But whatever. To end it all, I give my list of boundaries: cut off contact, marriage counseling, etc. The thing that I think is the final nail in an honest attempt to reconcile is she got extremely aggravated with cutting off contact, especially when I told her to do it in front of me and even insisted to see him one last time for a close year. I effing held my ground and told her, if he is so important, pack a bag and go live with him. To which she backed off, but not before she told me I was a controlling AO anyways. She sent a text this morning and showed me, but my spidey senses seem to think she will try different means of communication. I'm thinking there's no hope and I honestly don't want it at this point. But I just wanted to be able to tell my kids in 20 years. I at least tried. We have marriage counseling tomorrow, but I'm thinking it's time to file before wasting any time or grief. I'm cautious to move too fast because of my kids. But is this the right way to do it? Update: the past few weeks, simply put, have sucked. But it's given me time for a lot of soul searching and thinking. As an update from the previous thread, the wife and I did attend some counseling after the initial confrontation, and I will say this particular counselor had been very good about listening to both of us and not assigning blame or anything like that, and helping to navigate our new reality. She has also helped to uncover some structural issues in her relationship, and while that doesn't at all excuse my wife's behavior, it's helpful at least knowing for a future relationship and not repeating the same mistakes as also mentioned in the thread. My wife's initial reaction to my boundary to cut off contact was geared to go unheeded, and it did catch some small messages between them before she completely went dark with her chat logs and phone. After seeing that, I decided to file, and she was served a few days ago, and in parallel, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with my father-in-law, as we were super close and I needed to prioritize the support for our kids versus our relationship. As I could see, my wife wanted to sweep this under the rug. Needless to say, my wife was initially extremely upset. Her fantasy was blown up, but a therapist did talk it through with her from my point of view on why this needed to happen. And I think she is starting to realize the consequences of her actions and start to see there are real things that are going to be lost from here on out. I'm just trying to process the new life ahead and the huge change in my identity from my husband, father, to something else. Same with her. I will say, since I filed, my wife was immediately shocked when I dropped that on her, and she has been very emotional these past few days. I honestly think she thought I would never be able to walk away. I have kept her at arm's length, but I have seen a distinct change in her, and on a positive note, we have talked more, kept the conversation civil and focused on our shared priorities. Children mostly. I have made it very clear to her that she left a huge wound on me, and that she has to do the heavy lifting to help prepare and give me space and time. If I can ever begin to forgive, I will say it again. Again and again, her actions are the most selfish, self-centered, horrible thing you could do to a person. But I have not lost sight that we still need to raise our children. And that is my focus point as I navigate how I will move to the next phase of my personal happiness. I wanted to thank everyone for the previous comments of insight. I am honestly proud that I found the strength to not wallow in self-pity, anger or sadness and was able to make the right moves to retain my dignity and look forward to a bright future. I honestly don't know all the next moves and my feelings are constantly in flux. But I am starting to feel some inner peace. Thank you all again. Top commenter responsible. Yam 7973 says I am very dry proud of your progress. I don't know what dry proud is. But whatever you stuck it out and exhausted that route. Yes, she was deep in the affair fog. But she not only broke your boundaries but also your heart when she told you he was the deepest emotional connection she had. My only advice to you is that you stay this course at least until divorce. Afterwards, if you want to reconcile and you feel it's the right path, then go ahead. But if you don't divorce her and take her back, she and your children will understand that there are some actions that consequences again. Well done. We all very proud of you. And even dry proud. Apparently. Next thought from Florida. Juniborg 75. I just read your first post on this one. My situation was almost identical to yours. I caught her messaging the affair partner after she agreed to cut him off. When we went to couple therapy, they tried to drag me into a relationship analysis, and I blew up on the therapist and my ex after they tried to both corner me about housework and doing more of it. I then realized that the therapist catered to soften any accountability that would cause conflict. I forced the counselor to confront my ex about the ongoing text messages. She wouldn't do it. I was basically running the counseling session myself and we quit there anyways after I decided to leave her. It's like an emergency room. Patient comes in with a gunshot wound in his chest and the doctor begins by asking if the patient smokes or eats too much cholesterol. All those other health factors are irrelevant as long as there's an open hole in your chest. This is why, when you start describing your counseling session, I was getting pissed and thinking that they were somehow going to convince you that you had a part to blame for the cheating. My ex was also shot. I went through with splitting up too. Anyway, good luck in I think doing the right thing. Our next comment comes from Reddit. Avenger. Hope you don't discount what will be lost if you stay. This is never talked about. But it's a very real thing. Anyway, you're on the right track. Though I will say I think marriage counseling at this point is a mistake in this situation. You can't work on a marriage without a framework of good faith. You need that as a solid foundation. It takes consistent effort for a wayward spouse to build that. And it's something that needs to be earned. It's just a waste of money to try to do that right after an affair. Like putting up walls on a dirt slab. I think the reason why filing brings peace is because one of the things that is stolen from you by cheating is your ability to have agency in your life. You recover this when you file. Your future is no longer subject to your cheating spouse, who by actions forced you to make uninformed decisions about your future. Everything immediately regains control, even if you eventually stay together. It balances the scale to a more even level of control. I would be prepared for the possibility of a sudden change of heart by her affairs and none of the cares of real life. It's very easy to have the best relationship of your life when the only time you spend together is taken up by only the fun stuff. There is also an artificial intensity that the forbidden nature of the relationship builds. They will be gone now as well. In real life has already encroached on her law and you may come running back to you to save her. But honestly, this is more about her consequence and less about her love for you. Besides, I think most wayward spouses mistake intensity of feeling for love. They desperately want to be with their fair partner because circumstances won't let them. And they think this intensity means it's a deep love that they never felt before. No, it's just lust. Then, when their marriage is about to fall apart and they are about to lose their primary person in their life, they suddenly intensely want to be with that person again. But that also isn't love. It's desperation. One of the first things you need to assess is, do they even know how to love? Besides, their contrition is really only a requirement. To me, the most important thing you want to make your decision by is what the quality of your life will be moving forward. Good luck. Opie. Continue to be strong. It will serve you well. In whatever relationship you have going forward, you will recover faster too. One final comment from Gator Bro, very strong. You are doing the right way, or doing the best for you and your family. The way you describe your wayward spouse is absolutely correct, and her fantasy unfortunately didn't give your children any consideration and how her fantasy would affect them. By the way you have done things, I know you will continue to stay strong for yourself and your children. Alright, let's go to the second cheating story. My 31 male ex-29 female started getting close to her co-worker, and I found out from a conversation with another female co-worker that she was really into his body. Found him attractive and felt like he was going to get her in trouble with her husband. I felt comfortable and told her about this, and she kind of gasped. Led me into thinking it's nothing. Fast forward a year, and they become even closer, hanging out after work and during lunch breaks, smoking weed together and walking home together. I discovered this and told her I'm uncomfortable with it. She says okay and agrees to limit their time together. A month or two later, I ask if she's still spending time with him. She says no and tries to prove it with screenshots of their messages, which are few and far between. A month later, I found out she skipped college classes to hang out with him alone, because I checked the phone records and saw that they had been texting a lot more than she let on and was deleting messages and hiding their private hangouts. She slowly started to come clean but swore up and down it was platonic and that he was like a brother to her. They were only discussing the issues in their relationship and there are no romantic feelings involved. Not too long after in a completely separate conversation, she casually mentioned to me that she is no longer sexually attracted to me and gave no suggestion or insight on how I could work to fix that for her. I couldn't take the line gaslighting and the uncertainty, and things were already on the decline. Sex life slowed down a lot, lots of emotional neglect, insecurity for micro-cheating, invading privacy, and then trying to tell her not to talk with her coworker, who was a threat to our marriage. It wasn't going well. Broken trust from the inappropriate conversations I'd have with co-workers and strangers. It was all too much, and I finally decided to move out, and ended all with hopes that she would see my value and come back ready to be a good wife. Now 5 months later, I was doing well in life, new job, new apartment, 30 pounds lost, and a boost of confidence from meeting new women with lots of successful moments. I felt like me again. Then her and I started reconnecting again. We weren't yet divorced and we missed each other and both agreed to still be friends with benefits and see where things go. Possibly in the future we would get back together. And I held on to that because of the length of our relationship, 10 years, and the fact that she was my best friend. Things went well at first and it felt like old times and there was clear chemistry and familiarity. But she wasn't overly aggressive with her feelings towards me. Basically played the friends with benefits role well and never let herself get into the sexual moments. It made me feel like she was not really into that part of our current relationship and the friendship was more important. I was just happy. Either way, about 2 months after we reconnected, she comes over. One day we grab some food and head back to my place to do the deed. It went well and afterwards we were just hanging out on the bed chilling, when she fell asleep naked next to me. I went out to the living room since I wasn't tired and played some PS5. I hear her phone go off and realize she left it in the living room. I got super curious and realized my fingerprints still work for her phone. I snooped around and eventually found a picture of the same coworker in her phone. But it was a picture of him shirtless in her old apartment only a few weeks ago. I immediately open up his contact to see he's saved as Daddy Jason. I do a quick skim through and see all the graphic messages and pictures shared between them and lost my crap. This looks like it had been going on for a long time, but it doesn't look like they started having sex until we split. I took a picture of her naked on my bed from her phone and sent it to him saying, "You can have her." Bro then kicked her out of my apartment at 2 a.m. Told her I knew what she did and we can't speak anymore. I will call you with next steps for the divorce. I then proceeded to draft her the nastiest, most cruel message I could, while also letting her know just how much this devastated me. She never responded. She followed up a week later, obviously condemning me for everything I said. I wasn't proud of saying any of it and my only purpose was to hurt her just as bad as I was hurt. In that moment it all went over her head. She called insecure. She said the resentful sex she would give me once every other week was never good enough. And the worst was, all she had to say regarding what I had discovered was, "I'm sorry. I hurt your feelings. I'm struggling to move on with other people now because I'm afraid that I'm not enough and that if they don't show their interest the way my ex used to show interest in me. Now she shows interest in that way to her co-workers that it will never work. I just want a girl who likes me for me, thinks I'm good enough and will always choose me, even when we are old and sad. Heidi and have been together for decades. I just never thought women like her existed. I thought she was better than that. Did she cheat? Update. She sent a long apology explaining how sorry she is and she regrets it. I just asked her one simple question as a response. I just want to know why he cheated. She said she is sorry and not sure. She says it was probably because she was attracted to him feeling unhappy. And it was something new and exciting. That's all the closure I needed. She was truthful for once in her life and finally admitted to. Cheating doesn't change anything. But I'm glad the gaslighting and lying has finally ended and I can finally know where we stand and move on with a clear conscience. Thank you for all the support, everyone. It's going to take a little while, but I will bounce back better than ever from this. Let's see the top comments. Informal writing, for 130 for wants to say yes, she cheated. She also had an emotional affair with him while you two were still together. Disrespected you and talked crap about you 1,000,000 times to him. Even brought him over to your old home. The fact you even got back with her in the first place confuses the hell out of me. And even when you found the messages of her calling him daddy, she didn't even apologize. She just belittled you instead. Then you say you want a girl who treated you the way she did. You weren't the only one she was treating like that. So it wasn't even special. Another comment from Life, Yogurt Closet 98. No one lies about a platonic relationship. You already know she was deleting messages. No one skips college and lies to their spouse just to smoke weed. She's for the streets and you should have left her. But when you felt confident again but you still wanted her validation, well, you made sure the breakup was easy and you made sure she could move on easily. You should always tell your social circles the circumstances of separating. PS. She isn't was cheating. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.